Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Call for a vote. Alderwoman Dent,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Whalen,
Yes.
myself, yes. All right, I've received no public comments for tonight's meeting. We're going to look at bids for the hot mix asphalt. Mr. Payne.
Evening, Alderman. So we basically put out for bid for another load of hot mix asphalt. This was for paving streets, 2-inch overlay here in town on deteriorating streets. The streets that are chosen at this point are honeycomb type of breakage. If you've ever looked out, we've got rough roads, right? But if you look at the roads and they're busting up into honeycomb style pieces, that's when they're deteriorated so bad we need to do an overlay before we have to dig the whole thing up and start over with the base. So put it out for bid. We had 2 bids. The first one came in from Pierce Asphalt at $113,664 or $148 a ton. The secondary bid was from WB West Contracting at $134,400 or $175 a ton. The Pierce Asphalt bid would be our preference due to the better price and better quality product with our experience, with the street shop's experience. They're gonna utilize this hot mix. This company's gonna come down and pave East Kaufman, West First Street, and South Oak Street. If there's enough mix left over, they'll possibly pave some of South Louise and South Henderson. And I've drove these and walked these roads down with Brent Young, the street superintendent, and they're in bad shape. So what we're asking is for the approval of the Pierce Asphalt bid in the amount of $113,664, and that would come out of special street fund, I believe. Yeah. So.
Okay.
This is the contractor that did the street down by Terrell Auto last year.
Okay.
Terrell. And I think they did over Dent Street and stuff. So very professional, nicely done projects. So.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions?
No, I was just gonna ask him for if we'd used them before, and he answered that.
Do I have a motion for the hot mix asphalt bid?
I make a motion to approve the bid for Pierce Asphalt in the amount of $113,664.
Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Call for a vote. Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Whalen,
Yes.
Alderwoman Dent,
Yes.
Alderman Letchworth, myself, yes. All right. You're back up. Street sweeper bid repair.
Glad he's got his tinnies on.
Sorry. So basically, the street sweeper machine went down. We have a very good piece of equipment, and unfortunately, it's showing some wear. So at 11 years of age, it's currently non-operational. We'd like to get that back up and running, but the bid that we got from Brent Young, street superintendent, reached out to at least 3 different vendors. And they're spread out. They're not like you find 3 vendors that work on these in Missouri. They reached out to 2 different vendors in Ohio. No one came back with any information. They did get a bid for $99,433.77 from Key Equipment in St. Louis. And this is a vendor that we've been using with our equipment. And the gentleman that would come down to do the repair is very, very knowledgeable on this piece of equipment. I think they even tried to buy it back in a trade. You know how they do. We'll sell you a new one, but we'd love to have yours, you know. So, but that's the bid we have, and we'd really like to get that back up and running. Sorry, go ahead.
Steve, how long has it been down?
I would say roughly 2 going on 3 weeks.
Okay.
So
Do you
They-
know,
we were trying to fix it in-house.
okay,
John, the mechanic, was up and down it, and there's some specialty stuff,
Right.
and this is maintenance, some maintenance items too, to make sure that it
Okay.
negates some problems in the future, so.
would they do an evaluation on it at the time and make any recommendations?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
we're gonna have him definitely go through the whole gamut on it and
All right.
check it out and
All right.
stuff, so.
All right.
Anybody else have any questions? All right. Do I have a motion to repair the street sweeper?
I move that we repair the street sweeper in the amount of $9,433.77.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call for a vote. Alderwoman Dent,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Whalen,
Yes.
me, yes. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Don't know if the next one's me too.
Shit.
We're going to go over utility policy.
Yes.
All right.
So this evening, you have in your packet the edited revised utility policy. So as most of you are aware, we did a major revision of the policies. Staff went through, we spent about a half a day going through the policies and recommending giving our recommended edits. The utility committee then went through it also and gave some additional edits. We've incorporated all of those into the body, which is, like I said, in your packet. It covers almost everything in the policy. So updating some fees, updating language, making sure that we were in sync with code. The policy that's in your packet, we have, if you've looked at it, we actually pulled the sections of code that had been incorporated in out, and we have put in hyperlinks and references to the sections of code. That way, when we update code in the future, or those who come after us update code, we don't have to worry about updating it in the policy also. They can just go to that section of code and it'll be updated. We don't have to worry about those errors happening, because there were quite a few of those in the policies as well previously. And so, along with that, the 4 items that are on tonight for the second read as code updates, those ordinances, those are the ordinances that needed updates also as we did the policy review. So I don't mean to jump topic, but they are related because they came out of that policy review. So I would stand for any questions that you all might have.
I don't have any.
No, that's the way I understood it.
Okay.
So, I'm good.
Do I have a motion to approve the new utility policy?
I move that we approve the new utility policy.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Call for a vote. Alderwoman Dent,
Yes.
Alderman Whalen,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
me, yes. All right. We also have a request for utilities tonight.
Yes. So this is a request for utilities to serve a parcel of property that is outside of the city limits. There is a map included in your packet of the location of it. I can bring that up if you would like me to. I put in here the existing infrastructure in the area. So there's a 6-inch water line that runs up the private lane, terminates at the fire hydrant, basically in front of Mr. Perkins' house at 301 Private Lane. Per our codes, we would take the line either 5 foot inside the property boundary or 25 foot total extension, whichever was less, okay? And then anything beyond that would be on the property owner or the owner who's developing it, okay? It is served by Intercounty Electric, so the request is for water service. So I have put the current water rates in there, as well as the connection fees of the $2,030 for a 3/4 inch line. Now, the owner has not requested sewer service at this time, but there's a piece that comes into play. In the past, and I put the history in the staff summary for you all, in the past, we've had a couple of previous requests, and the board has chosen to say we will provide city utilities if you annex into the city. There is an issue about providing services outside of our city boundaries, okay? Now, if they were to choose to annex, then that brings into play another piece of code about public sewer systems, okay? And so that says that if the public sewer is within 100 feet of the property line, that they must connect. So in this instance, and I'll bring up the map to show you all. Give me a second here.
Is this the line that runs out to the hospital? Would it be that line?
Yes, the water line.
Runs along, it's on the, be the east side of the highway?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the map, or the imagery that was provided by the owners and the realtors, and they are here this evening. Okay. So I wanted to show you, so on this, just a second here. I'm gonna shrink this a little so we can get the whole image on. So what you see, the northern part, that rectangle that runs sort of east to west, that's the part they're wanting to subdivide off and provide the utilities to, okay? Now, the water line and sewer line that the city has that runs in this area, so there's the water line that runs up this private drive that comes up the middle of the property. Our sewer line runs along Highway 72 on the far western edge of this property. And if you look at, just a second. Okay, the scale at the bottom, the little black and white line. Okay, the first white segment would be 125 foot according to this scale. So if you take 125 foot and you run it from this corner out here, you're gonna be out in the middle of the highway. Our sewer line runs in here in this right of way.
Right.
Okay, so if they were to annex in, and I would say that there are some other issues, because annexation, you don't want to do spot annexation, it needs to be contiguous. So that means this property here below would need to come in, and either the golf course or this property owner also. So I just wanted to lay that out so that you clearly understood what the situation was.
Offering them annexation, or saying that they do need to annex, that would bring in all those other factors then? all
Yes, yes. And conversely, if you decided to say, no, we won't provide, then it's on them to drill a well or do some other, do you know what I mean? Some other means. But like I said, I wanted to provide that history, that in the past, that has been the board's take. The motions made were that we'll provide you the water or whatever utility if you annex into the city. So. Okay. And we did have a similar situation. It was surrounded by city property, at least on two sides. But same thing, they wanted water, they didn't want sewer, but the sewer was in the street fronting the property. And so if they annexed in, they would have had to have connected, and they chose not to. So,
So I understand you right? If they annex, then the country club would have to annex and the property?
no, we can't annex them unless the properties, a property adjacent to them is annexed.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
you don't want to go out and do an annexation.
I understood the spot.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And
I
so it
just-
needs to be contiguous with some city boundary.
Right.
So you would have to have some adjoining property annex in.
But
And
we
right-
have existing infrastructure right now out there in sewer and water, right?
So we have the water to
Okay.
this parcel immediately to the south,
Right,
and then we have water and sewer in that right-of-way along the highway.
yeah. And there's no load on it right now?
No what?
There's no, is there anyone hooked on that line?
Which one, the water or the sewer?
Water and sewer along the highway?
The hospital is connected to the water line,
Okay,
Mhm.
okay,
Now, the sewer line, there is one house connected to it,
okay. Which one's that?
the one to the south, it's not in this image.
Okay.
And the decision was made to grant them because both the water and the sewer lines ran across their property already.
Oh, that's fine.
No, no, I
I
just
was just
wanted
trying
to
to
explain.
understand if we had. Anybody got any opinions?
So also in your packet is the letter from the owners and the real estate agents, so.
I understand that.
Has there been discussion with the other property owners at all of them wanting to potentially annex in as well?
City staff has not had that conversation, no.
Anybody have any questions? There's some thoughts here to kind of go with the direction, so I guess what I could do is ask for a motion. Do I have a motion on this request for utilities?
I have a question. So just to be clear, if we were to approve what they're requesting for the water line, we would have to start the process to annex them in? No.
No.
Okay, so do we have verbiage stating that if we do provide them both water and sewage, that they would have to be annexed in,
No, not in code. That's just been the practice.
in practice? Okay.
What would the difference be? You know, we had another matter where we had an opportunity to run infrastructure outside of the city limits, and we were concerned about how that would change our classification from a municipality to a public service.
And
And it was
unfortunately,
pretty alarming,
right, unfortunately, I don't have those details. That would be Mr. Weber.
yeah. I think at this time, myself, unless someone wants to take the motion, I'd like to table this until I can talk to Mr. Weber. I mean, I want to help these people, but I want to make sure that,
Are we tabling it, or are we moving it to another meeting?
Well,
Well, if
tabling would be moving it to, you would
yeah,
table it to a
tabling would be
future
until-
meeting.
Until we bring it off the next meeting.
Sorry.
All right.
That's fine.
Okay, so the next meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, as quick as we can. When is the next meeting? How long are we?
Well,
I
that,
apologize to those here tonight, but I need to talk to Mr. Weber.
gotcha, no. So the next meeting, so the one on June 10th may not happen. We may not have a quorum, okay? Very likely we won't have a quorum. The last part of June, and that last regularly scheduled meeting, Mr. Weber will be on vacation. So unless we
No,
had,
I don't. I
unless
don't
we had a
wanna wait.
special meeting that Mr. Weber could be at.
We could always email him or talk to him about this issue, though.
You could. I mean, you could call him,
Outside
you
of
could,
meeting.
you
Yeah.
could reach out to him
Yeah.
to ask.
Yeah. But then still, we're not gonna have another meeting to take action on it until,
Unless you want it, yeah, unless we have a special meeting Thursday.
I'm not opposed to the special meeting Thursday, trying to do the right thing. I know, but that's you guys. If we can't meet it, then
It's on my calendar if we can do it.
what do you guys think?
I will make myself available.
Okay, let's do that.
Is Mr.
I'm
Weber
sorry,
gonna be
but yeah.
available?
I'm sorry,
Is Mr. Weber gonna be available?
I don't know that for sure. I can check with him and see, okay? I likely won't have an answer this evening, but I will
That's
check with
fine,
him and see.
that's fine.
So we're tabling this issue.
Yeah, ideally, you'd do that as a motion to table
Okay.
it to,
I need a second.
Second the motion.
All right. All right, call for a vote. Alderman Whalen,
Yes.
Alderwoman Dent,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
and me, yes. Next, we have the Fireworks Committee request to use the city park.
Hey everyone, how are you? Thank you for hearing me out. I know you have way more important things to be discussing than me and my 5 minutes with you. But, so essentially, the Fireworks Committee is working really hard to have a fireworks show this year. And so we have a property owner who has agreed that's close to the park to allow us to light off the fireworks from their property. So essentially, what we're requesting is that we close the park from on 4th of July, essentially. And we've met with the Park and Rec Board. They've approved us to do so. We just need to bring it to your guys' blessing as well. But we would close the park down to allow vendors to set up and then also keep it safe for kids running back and forth to the different vendors that we have or the playground that we're gonna have that's hopefully gonna be there and available. But we would keep the back entrance open for the park, or for the pool, I apologize, for people to get in and out. And then the park board may do something with the pool using, being the fireworks being at the park. We've spoke to the fire department, well, not the fire department, we spoke to the chief and Earl Jarvis, whatever his title is, sorry. And they said that essentially they would just choose to park their truck at the pool to be the closest to where the fireworks are lighting off, but to also hang the flag that they normally do every year. And then we would just have vendors, and then the police department would help flow traffic there. Chief Chase said he's been around long enough to know that in the past when the fireworks have been there, that they've been able to keep traffic flowing efficiently and keep it safe for everybody. But what we need your guys' approval for is just to have the park closed down for vendors to set up and to keep it safe for kids, so there's no traffic going in and out.
Okay.
And then I will add, in case your question next to me is about the insurance and the protection, we would have our own insurance to protect the event. And then we would also, the food vendors are required to be licensed with the health department and then also have their own insurance, and then our pyrotechnicians would have their own insurance as well. And then, of course, the homeowner has their insurance.
Okay.
So
You have any
just be
questions?
closed to drive-through traffic then, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So, as I was listening to you, where would we park if we wanted to come?
So we're gonna keep the public parking over by the armory open,
Okay.
and then there's gonna be a parking spot down below the armory that'll be open. And then, of course, I think the armory will have their parking, and then a lot of people we're going to encourage to park at the high school and either walk over and use the nice walk path that they have there. We're gonna look into having a bus shuttle back and forth, is what we're trying to do. Just trying to get some people on board for that. But essentially, they would park kinda like T-ball, and we would encourage them and have, I talked to Chief before, and have them monitor to make sure nobody's driveways are being blocked, or just making sure everything's safe.
Okay.
But my whole reason for blocking off the traffic is kids run crazy at the commons when we had it there. They're definitely gonna be running wild at the park if we have like bounce houses or face
Right.
paintings, and the park in general being open and the splash pads, so.
Anybody have any questions?
I don't.
All right. Well, do I have a motion for the use of the city park by the Fireworks Committee?
I move that we allow the fireworks committee to have use of the city park.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Call for a vote. Alderwoman Dent,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Whalen,
Yes.
myself, yes.
Awesome, thanks, guys. I just wanna thank you guys for all you do. I've been in your shoes. It's not oftentimes an appreciated position, but you guys are doing an awesome job, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
and so I have heard from Attorney Weber. He said he should be available Thursday evening.
Oh, cool. We'll get that, make sure.
All right. Now we've got the reading of bills. Bill number 3654.
Bill number 3654, an ordinance amending section 700.190 water rates.
Okay. Sally?
Do you want me to speak on this one? So we did kind of go over it last time. These are the water rates as recommended by the Utility Committee for the upcoming year. I have them listed here. Base rate going from $6 to $12, $6 to $8 for inside the city. And then outside the city limits going from 12 to 16. Inside city limits, volume rate per 1,000 gallons is going from $5.39 to $7.50. And the outside city limits volume rate is going, for 1,000 gallons, is changing from $6.78 to $9.49. Monthly commercial manufacturing averaging over 350,000 gallons will have a base rate of $8 and a volume rate for 1,000 gallons of $4.86. One item of note, the last time water rates had been changed was in 2018. So again, these are the proposed rates.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
No.
Do I have a motion for bill number 3654?
I make a motion to approve bill number 3654.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call for a vote. Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Whalen,
Yes.
Alderwoman Dent,
No.
myself, yes. All right. Bill number 3655.
Bill number 3655, an ordinance amending section 710.010, monthly utility bills, disconnection and reconnection of services.
Okay, so this ordinance and the following two are some of the ordinances, as I mentioned previously, that came out of our review of the utility policies. And so these were sections of code that needed to be amended to be in line. And like I said, had changes that utility policy changing, these needed to change as well. This one deals directly with reconnections and disconnection of service.
Does anybody have any questions about this bill? Do I have a motion for bill number 3655?
I make a motion we approve Bill 3655, amending section 7110.1001, monthly utility bills, disconnect and reconnects of service.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call for a vote. Alderman Whalen,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderwoman Dent,
Yes.
myself, yes. Bill number 3656.
Bill number 3656, an ordinance amending section 700.030, utility deposits.
Okay, this item, this is the utility deposits themselves. There were some clerical errors, typos, in the original version of this ordinance that was adopted previously. So this just corrects that. Like I said, we caught it during the review of the utility policies.
Okay.
There's no actual change to the amounts of the deposits.
Anybody have any questions? Do I have a motion for bill number 3656?
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 3656.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call for a vote. Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Whalen,
Yes.
Alderwoman Dent,
Yes.
myself, yes. Bill number 3657.
Bill number 3657, an ordinance amending section 705.090, after-hours call-outs.
Okay, so this section, we are actually changing the name of the section. It was originally called security deposits. It had to do with businesses having a deposit, a $200 deposit, with the city clerk, so that they wouldn't be charged or fined for any after-hours call-outs. We don't do after-hours call-outs except in cases of an emergency. And so we were reducing this to our normal after-hour call-out fee, which is $60, and changing it to after-hours call-outs instead of security deposits. Again, this one came from the review of the utility policies.
questions?
I have none at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Do I have a motion for bill number 3657?
I move to approve bill number 3657.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All right. Call for a vote. Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderwoman Dent,
Yes.
Alderman Whalen,
Yes.
myself, yes. Go to reading of the bills, our first readings.
Bill number 3662, an ordinance repealing Chapter 700, Division 3, Section 700.230 of the City Code of Ordinances of the City of Salem, Missouri.
Okay, so this is the first of the long list of first read ordinances or bills this evening. These are the ones that pertain to the SRF bond funding. And like I said, that was based upon a model ordinance that DNR provided. And so some of this is updating terminology, some of it are actual changes to codes. This first one for 700.230 actually changes where in our code the sewer fees are located. They had previously been pulled out because it had a model code from 1999 that had been developed, and it referred to appendices that we no longer had in our possession. So it had been moved to a different location for the sewer codes. This eliminates that alternate location, and they'll be back within the body of the chapter. Okay? That's what this one does.
Okay.
Bill number 3663.
Bill number 3663, an ordinance establishing a user charge system for the City of Salem, County of Dent, State of Missouri to provide funds needed to pay for all expenses associated with the city's wastewater system.
So this code is mostly updating of terminology, from calling it a treatment works system to a public wastewater system. That's the main focus of this, just updating that language.
Okay. Bill number 3664.
Bill number 3664, an ordinance establishing a user charge system for the City of Salem, County of Dent, State of Missouri to provide funds needed to pay for all expenses associated with the city's wastewater system.
Again, this section, this is the definitions section of this chapter, and it is simply updating terminology and adding all relevant definitions.
Bill number 3665.
Bill number 3665, an ordinance establishing a user charge system for the City of Salem, County of Dent, State of Missouri to provide funds needed to pay for all expenses associated with the city's wastewater system.
Okay, so this section of code talks about how we will determine usage. Sorry, let me back up here. Forgive me. Okay, so, and then it talks about in instances where it's not feasible to meter water or sewage, the user shall pay for services based on the quantity of sanitary sewage, industrial wastes, water, or other liquids entering the sanitary sewage system as determined by the city or other authorized representative of the city through a study of the particular service. So it outlines the different instances in which we will determine usage, okay, for residential, commercial, industrial uses, okay. And it also, this section also includes the rates. You'll see those highlighted in yellow, the base rate as well as the volume rate, okay. These are based on Appendix A, which does calculations, again, recommended by the model ordinance that DNR provided, okay?
Bill number 3666.
Bill number 3666, an ordinance establishing a user charge system for the City of Salem, County of Dent, State of Missouri to provide funds needed to pay for all expenses associated with the city's wastewater system.
This particular ordinance, 710-330, the section of code actually deals with the billing of the sewage. And so it outlines how we will perform the billing.
Was that 710-330?
Correct.
Okay.
Bill number 3667.
Bill number 3667, an ordinance establishing a user charge system for the city of Salem, county of Dent, state of Missouri to provide funds needed to pay for all expenses associated with the city's wastewater system.
So this section of code is actually repealed. Okay, it is duplicated in other areas of the code. Okay.
Bill number 3668.
Bill number 3668, an ordinance establishing a user charge system for the city of Salem, county of Dent, state of Missouri to provide funds needed to pay for all expenses associated with the city's wastewater system.
This section is also repealed in its entirety.
Bill number 3669.
Bill number 3669, an ordinance establishing a user charge system for the city of Salem, county of Dent, state of Missouri to provide funds needed to pay for all expenses associated with the city's wastewater system.
Okay, so this is method of billing. It talks about that each service charge shall be noted as a separate item on the bill of each user. It talks about how they'll be billed, collected, and become delinquent at the same time. So just kind of lays out some of the items that previously have been included in policy, but this is per code, so.
Bill number 3670. Did I skip one? No.
Doing good.
Bill number 3670, an ordinance establishing a user charge system for the city of Salem, county of Dent, state of Missouri to provide funds needed to pay for all expenses associated with the city's wastewater system.
Okay, so this is the accounting system for sewer funds. This is mainly an update in terminology based on the model code. Again, the language we had previously was from the model code from 1999. So this is just updates to that terminology.
Bill number 3671.
Bill number 3671, an ordinance establishing a user charge system for the city of Salem, county of Dent, state of Missouri to provide funds needed to pay for all expenses associated with the city's wastewater system.
Okay, again, this was recommended in the model code that there be an annual review of the charges for the sewer system. We've kind of been doing that anyway each year, but that we do an annual review, that we make sure it lays out the types of things that are to be included and considered in determining the charges. Yeah, it states that we'll have a public hearing prior to any changes in those charges, when it's to be published. And it also has a new stipulation that the city will notify each user at least annually in conjunction with a regular bill of the rate being charged pursuant to the user charge system.
We will move on to the reports of city officials. Anybody have any reports? Sally?
I have no report this evening.
Steve?
Okay. Gonna keep this relatively short tonight. Our wastewater treatment plants continue in preparation for the upcoming construction phase that Jeff was talking about. Our daily testing continues. The plant is healthy. The oxidation ditch that we talked about, the bug levels are coming back up to a better level, which is good, especially given all the heavy rains that we've had. Every time we take a rain event, we go from roughly 1 million gallons of flow a day to almost 7 million, so it's a lot to deal with. But our guys stay on top of it. The water department worked to fix several water breaks, rebuilt a fire hydrant over at South Carty and East Hawkins Street, trying to keep on that project and ensure we're getting the fire hydrants taken care of. The vendor that did the maintenance across all the fire hydrants, well, 290 of the fire hydrants and painted them, came and finished their job. We'll be going into the next fiscal year and asking them to come back and finish the remaining 55. When we initially sat down and talked about having the fire hydrant maintenance program started, I was provided with a list that had 290 hydrants on it, and we in fact have more than that. So we'll get those taken care of. Between them and our crew, hopefully we can really start finishing up and ironing out the program, making sure that those hydrants are all good to go. They're functioning, but make sure they're functioning as best they can. Electric department, Sally, we basically promoted Donnie Moore Jr. To electric department lead man. Donnie Moore Jr. was our water superintendent who stepped down and moved over to the electric department and started his journeyman lineman apprentice program. And he'll be graduating in December, but he's just such a good straight shooter as far as his work performance goes. He was just the clear choice to be the lead man over there. He's a guy that's making sure things are getting done, and we really appreciate him. Line trimming crew continues to make gains on their work orders, and I know I say that a lot, but there were a lot of back work orders that had been laying around for a couple of years, so we're really making gains on that. And if folks have work orders in and haven't seen any work done, we're also trying to make sure that crew communicates back to them. Maybe if they think that there's trees on their electric line leading into their home and it's actually their comm line, we're trying to make sure they get those answers. So ordered 32 more street lamps to make sure that we can continue replacing street lights. Going to make sure that the crew has the list from the police department as well, so that we can just keep working those as we go. I know they worked on 2 or 3 of them today, so. And the public's always welcome to call in if you've got one out in your neighborhood that we can take care of. We'll make sure we jump on it. I want to keep reminding people there'll be planned power outages conducted by Show Me Pole Replacement, and that's supposed to be starting in June, I believe. So as we get that information, we'll be putting it out to the public so that those short-term outages are something that they can plan for. We installed 4 service upgrades across the city as well. So construction crew prepped to do curb work, an approach over at Franklin Street that had been on the list for a long time. Constructed and poured a catch drainage ditch over on South Henderson Street that had been causing a home. Basically, you had the streets all combined were pushing water towards one of our citizens' houses, and it was taking on water. So the catch ditch didn't come all the way up to the road. It was the weirdest thing. It missed it by about 50 feet. So they went ahead and just finished that up and put some curbage and stuff up. They're finishing work on the cat holding area at the animal shelter. And just for public edification and your information, I keep a concrete priority list. It's a living list, you know. I mean, it's changing as I get different requests. I don't want to lose track of anybody's stuff, so on top of work orders, we have this list that has, we've probably got about 5 projects that are homes, or even a couple of homes in a neighborhood off of Bergman that are taking on water in their basements due to the changes around them. There's a logging operation over there that's flattened out everything and causes all of that water to get caught and pushed towards the homes off of Bergman. So those rise to the top of my priority list because it's fair, it's impartial, and it's transparent. And if your home's taking on water, I want to help those people. I do get calls from folks that all of a sudden, you know, after living in their homes since the 80s, they've decided they don't like the water coming down the street, washes out their driveway. I'm sorry, that doesn't rise to the top of my list, so if I say, we'll try to get to you before this fall, that's what the attempt will be, unless someone trumps me and says, hey, let's go ahead and bump this up. It's to protect homes right now is what my priorities are. And then new home construction, obviously, they have to have their aprons and driveways to get into their drives. So if you've ever got any questions about that, or you get complaints from residents who don't think that we're getting to them fast enough, excuse me, let me know, and I'll show you the list, and we can talk shop. So, street department picked up another load of cold patch and have been doing patches citywide. They think they took care of a big one over on Kaufman Street where Brady Adams had built a new home there, and so there was a cutout that was pretty large. Once again, when citizens see those and they get frustrated, we really like to give them a couple of, not give it to them, but give those patches a couple of months of getting compacted by vehicle traffic. If it's bad, give us a holler, we'll come back over. We do try to keep an eye on them and backfill them so that continues to get packed in, so when we put your pavement patch in, it's not gonna be knocking your teeth out because it sunk some more, so. The mowing season's kicked off, and it's working our mowers hard. The mechanics trying to stay on top of those and keep them up and running. Street painting projects, as the weather permits, are going on. They painted a new crosswalk over at the high school there just before graduation. We'd done the couple of where the kids actually use the sidewalk, you know, and the path of least resistance streetwise to get across there. We'd cut out and put in a couple of ADA compliant ramps and painted a new crosswalk per request of the high school. Backfilled and smoothed out some dirt work over at the electrical trade school project at the high school. A lot of our crew members attended vac truck training. We have 2, maybe 3 vac truck operators, one who's a primary, backup's pretty good. We put a lot of people through. I'm not sure, I think we had about 9 folks that showed up for vac truck training. And the mechanic actually drove up to Illinois and went to a vac truck repair training to make sure he's on top of it. He knows, and now he's been to operator training and mechanical training for it, so he makes sure that our guys aren't using it in a way that might damage the equipment, which is really smart. So, cemetery crew, I'd like to say kudos to the cemetery crew for working hard to keep up with the mowing with all the rain we're getting. And a big thanks to all the departments that came out on Cemetery Cleanup Day, Wednesday the 21st, and started it out about 7 a.m. and we had all the headstones weed-eated and the mowing tied up by, I want to say, 11:30. So a little half hour slower than last year, but when we get all hands on deck and everybody pitches in, it works out great. So it's 35 acres of headstones. 33. I like to round up to, no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so got that knocked out, and hopefully everybody, their Memorial Day events were good. So, do y'all have any questions for me?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I have nothing to report at this time. Alderman Kinsey,
Nothing to report at this time.
Alderwoman Dent,
Nothing to report?
Alderman Whalen.
Nothing.
Alderman Letchworth, if I might add
Sure.
something. I know I said I had no report, and it's not really a report, but I want to make sure that you all are aware, as well as make an effort to make sure the public is aware. So we do encourage our citizens to sign up for our text blasts that we send out. But I want to make sure that folks are aware. We have quite a few folks who've moved here from other locations. And the texting service, and this is actually an FAA requirement, not FAA, Federal Communications Commission, sorry, I didn't get my federal entities correct, yeah. So if we send out a text blast at 8 a.m., okay, Those of us here who have a 573 area code will get that text. Those who have area codes from other time zones will not receive that text. It will not send text before 8 a.m. in the time zone where your phone originated. Okay, so we do have quite a few folks who, if we have to send a text, you'll notice most texts go out late in the afternoon, 2:30, 3:30, and that's why, so that we make sure we reach the most folks who have signed up. So we actually have a few area codes. I actually went through about a year ago to see where was the farthest away one, so that I could determine when was the best time to send texts, okay? And we do have some from Hawaii. So that means they won't receive those texts unless I send them after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it makes it a little tough, and I've had some folks reach out saying, well, I signed up, but I'm not getting texts. Well, again, there's only so much we can do. They won't send them, so it's before 8 a.m., and I want to say after 9 p.m. The system will not send text. So we can't use it for emergency purposes after hours. So just a few limitations. I think it's a great tool. I still encourage folks to sign up for it, but there are some limitations, and I just wanted to make sure you all were aware of that, okay?
Thank you.
So,
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call for a vote. Alderwoman Dent,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Whalen,
Yes.
myself, yes.